Hello, everyone, and welcome to a special edition of our Fireside Chats, where we are going to hear some lightning talks from our Information is Beautiful Awards shortlisted entries. And we're really excited to hear from them today. So this will be similar to the lightning talks that we saw on the DataViz Day of Inspiration around the IIB Awards, and wanted to give you a taste of some more of the work behind all of the really cool projects from this last year. So first, we are going to, I'll introduce each of the speakers. They'll get 10 minutes. Then I'll introduce the next speaker and they'll get 10 minutes as well. And we'll just kind of go that way. So we won't have a lot of time for Q&A today, just talks. So first we will have Matteo presenting divinecomedy.digital. So I will bring Matteo on stage and cede the floor. Hello, Matteo. You are muted.
Hello, everyone. Hi, Jill. Thank you for the introduction. I'm Matteo Bonera, professor at Politecnico di Milano and creative director of the Visual Agency, an information design agency based in Milan. Some years ago, the Visual Agency was involved in a couple of digital humanities projects. One dedicated to Leonardo da Vinci's Codex Atlanticus in 2019, and the second dedicated to the digital collection of Raffaello Stanzio's artworks in 2020. Then in 2021, we wanted to celebrate the 700th anniversary of the death of Dante Alighieri, who is the most influential Italian poet of all time. One of the initial questions to be answered was how to celebrate Dante's legacy with something unique. And we initially started with the benchmark research, and we discovered that the internet was full of application about divine comedy. And we felt overwhelmed by countless digital projects like Dante and Virgilio in this picture. And all these digital projects basically let users read the text of the poem and via browser or via an app. And we all know the pleasure of reading a physical book. And while doing it, we're well aware of the role of illustrations along the text. And for instance, this famous engraving by Gustave Doré that we see here in the screen is just one of the countless examples that significantly contribute to make Dante's narrative world very famous. So we found the uniqueness we were looking for not in the divine comedy text per se, but in the influence that his narrative world has had in the last 7 centuries of art history. He influenced tons of artists all around the world, and we collected more than 1,000 artworks from more than 90 authors. The introduction of the application shows clusters of artwork arranged by an AI algorithm according to their visual similarity. For the geek of you, it's a TSNE map. It's called like this algorithm. And this overview offers a panoramic overview of the collection, so basically our database. Artworks are then rearranged by centuries of creation. And it is interesting to notice that at the first insight that we had is that Dante wasn't definitely cool in the 17th and 18th century. And this is due to the negation of Middle Age values in the Romanticism era. And you can see in the column view, all of these columns are centuries, and you can see in the 3rd and the 4th column there aren't a lot of artworks that depicting scenes from the Divine Comedy. And now today we wanted to democratize this cultural heritage and to make all this content accessible for everyone easily. In order to do this, we enable people to browse artworks directly to the comedy's plot. Not all of us are really into the structure of the settings of Inferno, Purgatorio, and Paradiso, which is represented in the first column in this visualization. And for each circle, terrace, or sphere represented in the second column of the visualization, we took a step further and divided each of the 100 cantos into scenes, like in a real movie screenplay, let's say. Each artwork has been connected to the scene it represents, and this interactive menu allows these and other speculations. For example, the Paolo and Francesca scene was represented by more than 50 artists, and is the probably the most famous scene about the Divine Comedy. This visualization doesn't provide only a mere representation of the plot of the Divine Comedy, sized by number of verses that describe each part, but also behaves as an interactive menu to access the collection and let everyone dive deep into the plot and find the artwork that they're looking for. By clicking on a scene title, the user enters the related gallery, like this one is the one of Paolo Francesca. And we wanted to create what I call it a slow surfing experience for the visitors. That's why each gallery is paired to the audiobook that read the specific verses of that very scene. So while you're looking at the artwork, you can hear the voices of the screen. And we let people take their time to explore the gallery, enter the artwork page to see further information and links to the source of the artwork. And visitor can jump, as you can see here, to related artworks from the same artists and surf the galleries by following the fabula of the Divine Comedy. People can also contribute to this collection thanks to a module that you can find in the website. I think that this application allows speculations for the and research for the domain experts. And therefore, if you're interested in understanding this research allowed by the use of this interactive visualization, I strongly suggest that you take a look at the second link, the one of Journal of Dante Studies from Biblioteca Dantesca, and which we dive deep into the discovery that we had using the visualization of the Divine Comedy's plot and was the output of this research. This project was designed and developed by a great team, and I suggest you to follow us on Instagram to keep in touch and discover our commercial works as long as some of these digital humanities works that we're doing. Thank you for everyone for listening.
Thank you so much. That was really lovely. All right, next we have Kay presenting Certain Uncertainty.
Hi, I'm Professor. Can you hear me? Yeah, hi. Yeah. Hi, I'm Professor Kai Schröder from Germany. Together with my colleague Jules Sinse, I developed the project Certain Uncertainty, and I want to present some of the backgrounds of the project. So, since quite a while, we try to figure out how we can map water stress in a more meaningful way. Jules has a background in mechanical engineering and industrial design, and I'm an information visualization researcher. And one of the major problems that we have is that actually the most maps that are currently used to present this data in a digital way are actually focusing on the topology, so actually where something is going on. And the problem is that it's not so much about where things are happening, but how many people are affected. Because in the years to come, one of the most dense population areas in Asia are going to be affected heavily by water stress. So the problem is, if you look to the mostly used maps, that actually if you keep the topology intact and focusing on the geospatial context and the regions, so most of the areas that are dark red or very high affected are not really populated. So for example, the Sahara or some of the Middle East countries are partly really desert. So what we try to do is to figure out if we could find a way to use a different dimension, a physical context, not digital context, to create a different kind of experience that make people start first thinking about how many people are living where, and then how the water stress could be understood in this context. So we start to take some metadata and made an population density map where you can clearly see that one of the major regions that were presented before are dark red are actually not really populated, so not really people living there. So what we did then, we created code in Houdini to create an evaluation map to generate 3D models that are focusing more about where are people living. And after a while, we figured out that it works quite well, but the problem is we need a machine to print this data. The good thing is you have a mechanical engineer in the team that you can build a machine that's doing what you want. So it took us nearly half a year to build a machine that can cut the data in a good way, as if we also had some flexibility to tweak a bit the different shapes. And over a while, we started to printing the shapes and experiment with different heights of the individual segments. Because what we wanted to create is we wanted to create a map that you need quite a while, a minute or two, to figure out where in the world these people are living. And after quite some while, we got the optimal relationship to make this quite clear. And then we start to use different color concepts to create an surface of this material that enable us to project water stress data. To do so, we try to create a mapping where we put some of the capitals of these regions, for example, in Delhi, New Delhi, Shanghai, Tehran, or also some European countries and some countries of the East Coast of the US, to say, okay, what if we now put a disk from epoxy on this major city of this continent and maps the water stress as a separate layer where the height of this disk is representing the water stress and the radius, the population that's affected. So for example, if there is an increase in water stress in Delhi, at some point migration is more likely, or the amount of people is affected is much higher than, for example, in the Sahara. So it was quite difficult if you come from a digital context to switch to a physical one, because just if you have the idea doesn't really mean that it works. So one of the major challenges was to figure out how could we use epoxy in a way that the data that we are projecting is equivalent with the data that we want to encode, so that you can really see that if a disk is twice as big, that the water stress is twice as heavy. After a while, we figured it out after some measurements with colleagues from the physics department. And then we could start to print the accurate data with 3D models to have shapes that you can use to create mouths with silicon. This mouth we then use to make these epoxy discs. And the next problem was then that if you want to have a very consistent color circle that you can map data like in the digital world, it's actually quite difficult because you need a specific distribution of high performance LEDs that the mapping is accurate. After figuring this out, we managed to solve this problem and then to assemble everything. So what you can see here now, for example, is that, I'm not sure if my mouse area can be seen, but that the Sahara is non-populated, so there's nothing in there. But if you look to the map, to the physical representation, after a while you can see the shapes. So basically the topology of India on the right or China on the far right. And after a while you realize that actually the most people are living in areas where water stress is really becoming a pressing problem, which makes migration very likely in the years to come. So after this setting this up, we currently have a running version of this that we also presented at the Information is Beautiful Awards. And we are currently working to make this more interactive. So actually we are developing new technologies that you can actually change the data, and also the different scenarios that people can explore, not just as representative capitals of these individual regions, but also how this relates to their own location where they come from, or that they can compare it. And actually the idea is that we also wanted to create something that it's easier in a physical world than a digital world, that we try to create also this metaphoric layer, that there is some thread, some very abstract thread that's flying on the surface, on this accumulation of humans, that will change the way we can live in these parts of the world in the years to come. Yeah, that's it.
Thank you so much. That was really insightful. I'm very interested to hear more. So thanks, Kay. Okay, next we have Kirti, who's going to present on Lumos Maxima. Hello, welcome.
Hi, everyone. I hope I'm audible, right?
Yes,
and you can
you're good. Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'll start presenting. Oh, I hope my screen is visible. So, hi, I'm Kirti Rathod from a student of Masters in Information Design from National Institute of Design, Bangalore. So I would present to you Lumos Maxima, which is like I visualized my books bought and read in the last 5 years with the help through light through my window. So to put something in context, this is my color coordinated bookshelf. And after COVID-19, when everything came together, I was living separately with my parents before that in a different town. But when I came back to my hometown and saw all these books lying around, my mom got a bit angry with me. So this is me and my mom. So whenever I used to order a book, my mom would ask me, "Have you read the books that you already have?" And I was like, "Yes, mom, I have read them. Don't worry at all. I have read them." So basically, when the opportunity arises to have a tangible visualization of a personal data, I decided I would answer my mom next time with more confidence. So the question that I had was, am I a reader or just another hood? So the process I followed was I started gathering data, I did some data analysis, I had some concept sketching, and then finally I made it. So the first thing was data gathering, and I put on all the Amazon data of my books that I have ordered and arranged them as I have read them or I have not read. And I got the answer, and I got to know that I'm a hood. And deep down, I already knew it. So part one was the indexical installation when I was thinking what to do with the data now and how would I face my mom again. Then I engaged myself in a very simple activity of making an indexical visualization of all the books bought in those 6-7 years, 2015, 16, 17. And it was clear that whenever I am shifting, there is a fall in number of books because I don't know where I'll be. And the moment I got my first job, the money started coming in. I bought a hell lot of books. And then I hit the spines of the books read. So this stacked bar chart of real books clearly tells I'm just another hoarder. So now we need some new questions to answer. And to this we come, how do I show enlightenment or the lack of it with the data that I have? And how can that visualization make me read more so that I can read the books that I already have instead of buying some more? So now comes the main event, that is Lumos Maxima. So this is my study table where I'm sitting right now. You can see this window from which the sunlight is coming is towards my right hand side, yours left probably. So I was sitting here, and why some flowers only bloom when ground above them burns? Because due to COVID-19, we were all sent home, and I was sitting on this desk and wondering how would I make a tangible visualization with no labs inside and with logged inside my house. And at that moment, this light falling down on the wall gave me an idea. Every morning this light will come because sun rises from this side, and with time the light will go down and down and down. So the metaphor came to my mind was light shows enlightenment, and the passing of shadows tells me that I have finite time. So let's do it. So this was the prototype that I made. I divided the books by year. Like in 2015, I read 2, and read 3. Grand total was of 5. So for red, I put in colored paper, cellophane paper, and for unread, I'll mark them as black. And a color change represents the year is changing: 12, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. And then basically connected them all and pasted them on my window. And then I waited the whole night to see if it works the next day. And it was working. You can see the colors are there and it's working, but it's messy. So now tomorrow the sun will rise again and we'll try again. So that's what happened. So this is the messy process and the people involved. this is my dad and my younger brother who helped me in putting this all up. And this is the setup of the video that we are making. One camera is lying here and another camera is lying here. So this is what we got. We shifted all the cellophane paper and the strips behind the curtain instead of in front of it. And this was the final photo which we took, Lumos Maxima, every year. And here I have mentioned the books that I've read and then the books that I have bought. And with time, I can get rid of the black cellophane paper, black paper, to make it red or green or blue or yellow. So I made a small video of the whole thing. I'll just play the video.
And so I beg you, so I beg you, so I beg you, so I beg you to be mine, to be mine, to be mine. To be mine, to be mine, to be mine, to be mine.
So this was a small video. So lastly, thank you. Everyone who directly or indirectly had been making it, and most importantly, Mom, for always asking me how many books have you read. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Kirti. That was really fun. Thank you so much for the how-to of your Lumos Maxima.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Yes. Okay, for our last lightning talk, we have Ottavio and Flavia to present Illumio 500. So welcome.
Thanks, you.
Hello.
Yeah, we're excited to be here sharing our experience of this project. So we start sharing our screen. Okay, first of all, we'd like to thank Data Visualization Society and everyone for the opportunity to be here today. My name is Ottavio, and this is my partner, Flavia. We are both founders of Datadot. Today, we're going to show the process behind the creation, development of this project. So one of the main things that we'd like to share today is the importance of using design to provide space to all stakeholders to collaborate during the process. Before that, just a quick glimpse of our studio. We founded Datadot in 2014, and we are in Brazil right now. We are focused on data visualization, infographics, and visual narratives. And so, back on track. This project, it started with Illumio. It's a data science company here in Brazil, and they reached us with this proposal that they needed to show the history through data. So they had so they wanted to use that, create a data visualization to show the range of clients, the projects where they act, and during all these years. So at the beginning, it may sound simple because their database weren't so complex. It was based almost could resume in 5 columns of different data. However, at the beginning, we started to notice some initial challenges. For example, we found right on the first talks, we found some semantic barriers. They had their terminology and the knowledge about the methodology but also had a limited understanding of the data visualization solutions. And on the other hand, we had plenty of, because of your experience, you had we could visualize a lot of potential solutions, but it was complicated to put it in a verbal way. So to start with, the most challenging part was to start the project, to understand what was the main objectives and what the solution, how to make it have how to create sense, so how to make sense making around this data that they had, and also how to bring them to be in the same page as us and collaborate in the projects in a participatory way. So most of our presentation today will be around this part of the generative part of the design process. And also here at Datadot, we use our main methodology that we apply in our projects is the double diamond. I believe most of you are familiar with this framework that is presented by Design Council. We like, what we most like of it, it's because it's quite flexible, and it provides also a more visible way to the clients understand how the process is going to happen. And as I said before, its flexibility helps us to adapt to it, to every context of the projects that we are working on. So the first phase after starting the project and the initial talks, we always start our projects with workshops. These workshops, they have provided quite useful to create a shared understanding of the project among the stakeholders. So most of the time, we always have important people from the client, and also people from that have contact with their clients, so we can build together the requirements for the project. For Illumio 500, our team consisted of 3 designers and 1 developer, 1 front-end developer, and 2 stakeholders from Illumio. And everyone contributed with insights and provided and information that provided to be quite useful during the project. So after the workshops, we synthesized every information that we worked on and the sites when we built the requirements, the project requirements, which is divided into 3 parts: the opportunities, restrictions, and considerations. Here at the right, there's the image, the sample of the database that we were working on. And these leads, they guide us during the projects, these requirements. But also, it's important to highlight that it's not some, after we created these first requirements, they are not something that is written on a stone. They are also flexible, because over time during the development of the projects, we will have new understandings and perspectives of the components that we are working, and sometimes you need to go back and refine or make adjustments in these requirements. Here's an example of the user journey that we created during the workshops. So we like to put a lot of effort in this first phase, this generative phase of the design process, because it will help us during the layout or more hands-on phases. It also gives, we can start to have useful insights from many of the details that we will be working later in the project. So after all this, the requirements, the user journey, and this more abstract part of the process, we worked on three low fidelity prototypes. The most thing, usually we always start with a low fidelity because we have to test. If you don't test the ideas and the proposals, sometimes you can put a lot of effort and time, and that will face some problems in the future. So with these three prototypes, we presented the client. Also, for each one, we had already researched about its if it was something that we could develop using the technology that we had at the time, and also we like there is one researcher from Potsdam University in Germany that Marian Dork, he states that the prototypes, they enable conversation because it's the first time that the client is going to see the part of the project. So it's the first time that he's seeing from the transition from that database, from a spreadsheet to the visualization. So after these first prototypes, we are in a new stage that we have new repertoire, and you can start talking and seeing if these proposals are aligned with the requirements, if it's making sense, etc. And this was the prototype that was chosen. And after that, I think the main challenge was resolved. That was to together with the stakeholders define the path that we are going to follow. And after the main visualization was finished, we started working on other components and the main interface. For example, we started to think the functionality, how the filters could work, and also secondary information. For example, these two little graphics at the bottom that they could provide extra information about the selection that was happening at the main visualization. And of course, it's not easy because each component that we start to add, it will change the visualization. So even the color has this challenge of creating the color palettes that will work for all sectors, and it makes sense. Also, you have to be careful with the interactive elements, for example, the selectors and things like that. So there's a lot of iteration during this process. This is more this diagram that we created. It reflects a little bit of this. It's a synthesized way to visualize all this process. That first we start working on the main components, which in this case was the first visualization. After it was validated by the client and we had a solution, we started to add new layers of complexity that can be, for example, the filters and the other graphics, the color, everything. Each of these layers, they relate to each other, and also each decision that we make and each action that we make, we have to reflect how it's going to affect the whole of the visualization. And to finish, I'd like to share a little bit of the visualization working. So we invite everyone to explore. You can find the link on our website or just follow here. But part of it's one thing that we like a lot here is because besides the working with the data, we know that in design you have to, there are a lot of elements, for example, the movements and and colors, things that are a little bit more abstract, but they also have a great influence in making the information being understandable by the users. So that's it. Thank you all.
Thank you so much. That was really informative. It's such a complex process. I appreciate the insight. So, all right. Well, thank you to all of our Lightning Talk presenters today. This video will be available on our YouTube channel. If you want to go back and look at some of the awesome work that the folks are doing, the link to the Information is Beautiful Awards Showcase is also in the chat, so you can go look at the pieces there as well. So thank you all and have a lovely day.